Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about watercolor palettes, specifically watercolor palettes that are used for tube paints that you can use in your studio. I recently spent a ridiculous amount of money on a bunch of palettes from Jackson's Art Supply. I'm going to be unboxing those and trying those out for the first time today, but I just wanted to show you the ones that I have and tell you a little bit about what I like about them and which ones I use the most. So I have 3 ceramic palettes and 3 plastic palettes. I love my little flower porcelain palette, especially for demonstrations. I think if this is your only palette, it's going to be obviously somewhat limited. You only have 1 mixing space if you decide to fill all 6 wells with colors, so you'll have to continually be cleaning that out to use it. But it is wonderful for if you want to stick with a limited palette and maybe just use 3 or 4 colors, this would be perfect. You can see it's nice and heavy duty. I love the fact that it really doesn't slide around. It's got a little bit of this grittiness on the bottom, so it stays put. That heavy ceramic factor is just much more pleasant to work with than plastic. This is my other favorite ceramic palette. I love again that it has 6 wells, which is perfect if you're working with primary colors. You can put 3 cools and 3 warm primaries here, and then there's plenty of mixing space, and it's also customized. I got this custom made from our ceramics shop on Etsy. A number of different brands carry this 10 well ceramic palette, and something I like about it is that it has plenty of mixing space, but the OCD in me has a problem with the fact that there's only 5 circles and I use 6 primaries. So then I have to put a paint in one of these rectangles. The colors are supposed to be in the circles, not the rectangles. Maybe it's just something I need to get over, but it's not okay. Anyway, I do use this one a lot. I find that these smaller palettes are really great when I just want to use a few colors and I'll need to just rinse them out and reuse them again maybe the next day. As you can see, they do get a lot of love. Okay, so when I'm working really big, that's when I pull out my John Pike Big Well palette. It's got a cover, which can also serve as a mixing space. The wonderful thing about this is that if you're working really large, you're using big flat wash brushes or any large surface, you're gonna need all of this mixing space. Look at that. It's huge. The trouble with having this many wells is that I feel like I have to fill them all. And then you get the overwhelm of color. I don't even remember what all these colors are that I put in my palette. They've been in there for probably 3 years now. I don't use this one that often because I usually paint fairly small. But like I said, if I'm working on an upright painting, something large, like I'll show you guys. I'm doing a self-portrait. So I am using the larger palette for this big painting. And when you're working on a large painting on an easel, say, upright, this is gonna be your best friend for that because you're gonna need all of that space for your big brushes. My favorite artist, her name is Mary White. This is her favorite palette, so she's the reason I bought this palette. This is my second biggest palette, and I also don't use this one very much, probably because I love to have extra space on my table, and when your palette is taking up your entire desk space, it can be a little bit cumbersome. Also, once again, it's the burden of overchoice and too many colors. When I was first starting with watercolor, I thought I needed 20 to 40 colors on my palette, and that's just not the case. I've discovered that fewer is better, not only for color harmony, but just so you can get to know how to use and mix those paints more efficiently. So this was 24 wells, it's just too many. I don't reach for this one very often, just for that reason. This is my favorite palette. If you watch my channel a lot, you've probably seen this one a few times. It's an 18 well palette, and it's got a removable plastic insert right here. Obviously I need to clean mine. Plenty of mixing space. I love that it's this medium size, and the 18 colors, I don't ever use all of them in one painting, but it has just the variety I need for painting just about anything. I have my paints laid out kind of in order of the color wheel, which is really useful. That's my favorite palette. Let's unbox my 5 new palettes from Jackson's and see if any of them are better than the ones I already have or if they're about the same. And you guys can decide for yourself what you think is best for you, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a sampling of some of the more quality palettes that are available. Okay, I didn't realize I ordered such big palettes. Man. So a lot of watercolor artists swear by the butcher's tray, and I've actually never used one. This one is porcelain, it's not plastic, and this was the most expensive one that I purchased. I think it was, yeah, $35, and it's 26.5 centimeters by 39.5 centimeters. That's a hefty tray. You can get a lot of mixing in on that. Oh, I'm excited about this one. So this was another large palette that I ordered. It's the Jackson's brand Porcelain palette with cover. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually a little disappointed in the quality of this cover. It's so flimsy and it doesn't stick at all. I was expecting something maybe like a rubber cover that would stay on a little better. I don't know that this hardly qualifies as a cover. It looks more like something you'd get on top of your microwavable food tray. The palette itself seems sturdy. There are 19 wells, so about the same amount as my favorite plastic palette, and tons of mixing space. So this could potentially be arranged the same way as my favorite palette, but also be more heavy duty. I'm just a little disappointed in this cover. And this was the second most expensive palette. It was $32. This one looks like a nice size. Oh yes. I really like this size. Those are nice deep wells too if you compare that to my flower palette. Big difference as far as mixing space. I also like that it has these little divots here so you can set your brush down like that, or like that, or like that. Just about anywhere you decide to set your brush, there's a space for it. And I can see myself using this one a lot, I think, especially for my video demonstrations. I only ordered one plastic palette. This one's called the Sienna Plein palette, and it's 8 by 10 inches. This was made by Richeson. Okay, so it's a really similar layout to my Jackson ceramic palette. Obviously, this is much more heavy duty, and this one is a little more flimsy, but it is, after all, a plein air palette. So if you're wanting to take it with you when you're traveling, you're gonna want something lightweight and not breakable. Compared to that ceramic one with the disappointing cover, this one has a much better fitting cover. I don't think it'll come loose on you when you stick it in your backpack. So that'll be fun to try. This last one is another one by Jackson, and it's another small ceramic palette. This one has 9 wells. You can see there's a nice big one here in the middle. And what I like about this design is similar to my Etsy palette, you have 6 wells, so 3 on each side for a warm set of primaries and a cool set of primaries. And you can use these for mixing spaces, or if you wanted just this space here, you could put 2 other mixer colors like a brown or a dark in these larger wells. We're gonna have to try all these out and see how they do. For me personally, having the right tools on hand that are high quality will ensure a more pleasant painting experience, and I'll be much more likely to return to my studio excited to paint again. Having low quality tools, including the palette, tends to discourage me from even picking up my brush. Of course, having an expensive palette will not make you a better painter, and if you're on a tight budget, you can definitely use a cheap palette to start out. You can even use a styrofoam plate. Palette choice is 100% preference. I hope you enjoyed this tour of all of these different palettes. Of course, there are lots of other palettes on the market. These were just a few that I thought I would test out that looked like good quality. And as you can see, there's so many sizes and shapes. Ultimately, you're going to need to choose a palette that fits your specific needs. Choose something that fits your space, that has lots of mixing room, and that holds all of your favorite colors. It's really as simple as that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.